Hey guys, welcome back to this is going to be a good Lisa lesson. There is a current series on Netflix that's like 4 sessions of 30 minutes. And it's about this guy, Dan Buettner, I think is his last name. I don't know exactly how to say it, but he's an Emmy Award winning journalist. I mean, National Geographic. He has been active his whole life. He's 63 years old. He has spent 20 years in the blue zones. And that is where people are the healthiest in the world. Not only they live the oldest, they actually have vitality. I can tell you that starting my journey in healthcare at 14 years old in a nursing home, it was very clear to me now looking back on this 40 something years ago, wow, that there were 90-year-olds and they were running around in their right mind, walking everywhere, walking to the dining hall. They were all very thin. And there were 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds that were bedridden, that were obese. And that all of these things have played into the last 4 years of my life, and now starting year five, in being healthy. It again, I've said this a million times. It never started about a diet. I was desperate for change. I needed change inside out. I was grumpy. I did not come from a good place. I had a very fractured everything. I mean, family, career, spiritual life, self care, you name it, you name the problem, I had it 4 years ago. And my life is totally different now. And this kind of studying and opening up my idea to I want to live, longevity. Transform 3, there was a heavy focus on longevity, and that's really why I decided to watch this and make some notes. So I took the notes here, and I'm just going to go through. There's 4 areas he went through. If you want to watch it, and take notes. Get a notebook, have your idea journal out, because these are things I think are going to be fascinating. And I'm talking fast. You might want to listen to it again. I'm going to try not to go over about 15 minutes, but basically blue zones are where the people are the healthiest in the world. This guy's 63 years old. He set Guinness Book of World Records for bike riding across I don't know how many countries in his 20s. Okay. So this is a guy who has Guinness Book of World Records in long distance cycling. He is always in some way, he's living it, he's writing it, he's studied the blue zones. So it's 4 areas of the world. It is somewhere in Costa Rica, very remote. It is Sardinia. It is also Loma Linda, California, which I thought was very interesting, and Okinawa, Japan. And so they look where all of these people living the longest and the healthiest, and he went and stayed and studied for years. Decades he's studied this. So he has a book out. Now he has the Netflix series, and it's fascinating. I hope you'll listen to it. So you spell his name, it's Dan, and it's Buettner. And his books are The Blue Zones, Lessons for Living a Longer Life. It's called like Live to 100 or something like that on the Netflix series. He also has a recipe book. I'm definitely ordering it. But anyway, I want to share this with you over the next few minutes. So grab a notebook and buckle up. I might not have, I didn't really write specific things from each region. I just took away a whole bunch of ideas that I knew I could live out. Okay. I'm going to start. He was in Okinawa first. And first of all, they walk 5 miles every day. That was the average of what they do, whether they're gardening. They all have a garden. They all have herbs. It's all plant based. Okay. In 4 different places of everybody preparing food. He always talked about nutrition. He talked about community. He talked about movement. He talked about love and partnership and connection and giving back. All of those are key components to living a vital life till in your 80s, 90s, and 100. Okay. And most of these people, it wasn't like they were skin and bones. Okay. It wasn't like they were underweight. Some of these people, especially as they older, it might have been just a little tiny tad overweight, but they were healthy because they eat whole foods. They move every day. In Okinawa, they don't really have furniture. They just have little stools and they sit on the floor. So they're up and down, even at 100, up and down off the floor 20 to 30 times a day. Think of that. Think of that. That is something every single person on here could incorporate if you just, even by your bed or a chair that you can hang on to, practice getting up and down on your knees, sit on your bottom, get up on your hands, push yourself up. 30 times a day. Can you imagine if you just did that, what it would do to your fitness? Wow. Okay. So that's something they do. They all eat whole foods. I'm going to tell you right now, in all four places, Loma Linda, Okinawa, Costa Rica, and Sardinia, never saw any meat, no packaged foods, there's no candies, there's none of that. There's no nothing. Even the pasta, everything is made, okay? It's made from scratch. They don't have the same preservatives. We all have heard, look how the French eat. They have all the wine and the cheese and the bread. Well, one, they linger over the food a long time so they don't overeat. They are more interested in the conversation around the table. That was another thing I noticed. There's nobody just standing in the pantry eating. Meal times are very social, and the social aspect is more important than the actual food they're eating to them. That was very clear to me in all four blue zones, okay? That their lifestyle, again, is not food centered. Their lifestyle is family centered, it's movement centered, it is moving their body. They're not sedentary and they don't eat packaged food, okay? Think of that one. Not sedentary and they don't eat packaged food. So they eat whole foods. In Sardinia, because everything is hilly, they walk up hills every day. So a big takeaway from Sardinia with the movement. Now, in all four regions, there's movement. They're playing tennis. They're playing pickleball in Loma Linda, California. They're riding horses and laughing and dancing in Costa Rica, right? They're farming. They're doing their plants. They're getting up and down off the floor in Okinawa, you know? And then in Sardinia, same thing. They make everything. They eat a lot of bread there, but they make it. There's not all the additives and preservatives, you know? They grind their own corn. They make a beautiful minestrone soup that they eat every day with a beautiful bread. And it's all about, you know, sharing. They have a great wine with no preservatives in it that they make. So, you know, I guess this is such a big point to say it's very healthy food, not like what we would have today if we go buy a loaf of bread. So it's, you know, and that's why bread's not in my life. I'm not going to make bread. And most of the bread out has too many additives, you know. And it's, listen, I'll eat a chocolate bar with additives, but bread's not on my hot list, okay? Just so you know, to each their own. If bread's your thing, go for it. Another thing I thought was really interesting, and you know, I teach it, and it's my number one thing. And in Okinawa, or in Japanese, and I'll mess it up, but it's hara hachi bu. And that means stop eating before you're full. Only eat to about 80% full. Stop eating before you're full. How awesome is that? No snacking. They have meals there. They're not snackers. Okay, I love that. Every single place in all four blue zones that he studied for decades, there is a sense of community. They call it different things. In Japan, they call it the moai, which is community, friends, relationships. That's huge. They also, different cultures have something that they call basically a sense of purpose. Just like we may call it contribution, like in our Anthony Robbins, you know, that what are we giving back? You know, I've said many times here, this has been my contribution. You know, what I've done in the Well Library and in Well Weight Loss over the past few years, I feel like has been a great contribution. It's very helpful to me too. And that sense of purpose really should help you as well, right? So they have a sense of purpose. Same thing. People have a plan. I love that. In Costa Rica, they call it plan de vida. They have a sense of purpose. They know what they're going to do when they get up every day. They call it, in Japan, they call it ikigai. Ikigai guy? I don't know, something like that. Sorry, I'll mess it up. But it's a sense of purpose. I wake up. I know what I'm going to do. We call it our routine, right? And then we also call it the contribution. You know, are we giving out? In Loma Linda, California, with the Adventist, he went there, and it was fascinating. They're together all day. Their religion, their faith is very important. Faith in all of these was a big thing. Whether it was Catholicism in Okinawa, it was really the ancestors. They really value their ancestors there. But faith, and that faith combined with a sense sense of purpose helped people live a long time. And it's not just about living to 100 to check the box, or 80 or 90. It's about being vital and being in good health until you're 80, 90, or 100, or ever how long you have here. A lot of people in all of these different places, they seem to place a lot of emphasis on aging and taking care of family. And again, that sense of community. They all called it a little bit different things, but it was sense of community, it was movement, and it was whole foods. No packaged foods, no processed foods. They don't have access to it. It's changing now in the last part of the series, where he kind of did a recap and talked about the changes. It's changing now because even in those very remote, isolated blue zones, they're not they're losing their blue, okay, because people now are bringing in all kinds of processed foods, and it's very disheartening. And so anyway, we're going to be giving them up. So over here, herbal teas was a big thing. Herbal teas was a big thing. Plant-based diet, minestrone soup, beans, and all four things: beans, nuts, seeds, whole foods, big deal. Let's see, they do things by hand. They do things by hand. They wash their clothes still, or they grind their cornmeal, or whatever they're doing, even chopping their vegetables. They don't have whopper choppers, and they chop everything by hand. They spend a lot of time in food and preparation because they cook. And there's no fast food. I love it, love it, love it. I guess, that really covers most everything. I'm going to go through my list here again so we got it. You can write it down if you want. They walk 5 miles every day. They squat, they bend up and down off the floor 20 to 30 times a day. They eat whole foods. They walk in an incline. They stop eating before they're full. They prioritize community, friends, relationships. They all have a sense of purpose. Every single one of them had a way to control their stress, whether that was exercise or family time or gardening. A hobby. They made things, woodworking. It doesn't matter. They had something to do every day that kept them busy. Let's see. I love the volunteering. I love the stress control. They did not let themselves get overstressed. They don't sweat the small things. They think about today. They enjoy today. And I'm sure they do plan for tomorrow, but it is not their focus, okay? I didn't hear anybody talk about the past. I didn't hear anybody talk about things they used to do, the way they used to be, the tragedy, the hurtful things. There was none of that. They were all talking about the present and how they live in the present. Partnership, their spouses, their best friends. They care for each other for life. They invest in each other. I want you to be healthy. I don't want you to go on medications. Take a walk with me after dinner. Let's get from fried chicken to baked chicken. Hey, let's have a meatless Monday. Let's try to move more plant-based and less meat. Whatever works for your family. I'm just giving you the ideas of people that live with great vitality until their 80s and 90s and 100, and I want the same for me and you. And we know genetics play a part of it, okay? Genetics do play a role of about 25%, but that means we got 75% that we can control. Raw honey was on here somewhere, in one of these cultures. They were really big into the raw honey. Plan de vida is what they called it in Costa Rica, having a plan, having a purpose. Don't overwork. They were really big on rest. Every single culture is big on, I'm busy all day and then I rest. And I can tell you it resonated leaps and volumes with me. And the reason it did is because I require a lot of rest. You guys know I've done somewhere between 8,500 and 16,000 steps a day every single day for 4 years, heading into year 5. Yay, yay, yay. But I have to rest. I am not very sedentary. I get up even when I'm working like this, or recording or writing or consulting, whatever I'm doing. And that is a sedentary job. I'm here for 30 or 45 minutes and I get up and I start moving, whether it's in the house, walking outside. I do not stay still. Okay. And this has given me something to add to my list. That whole getting up and down off the floor many times a day is definitely going to be something I'm adding to my list. This is the last thing I'm going to leave you with because everybody loves food. And so here, everybody loves food. So I'm going to they call it Three Sisters. And this is why this is important. So, Three Sisters is squash, corn, and beans all together. And those three things, and I forgot where this is. I think this is in Costa Rica. But those three things together, the seasonal squash, whatever it is, in the fall it's acorn or butternut or whatever. And in the summer here it's more like summer squash. But squash, corns, and beans mixed together with some seasonings. And that is the Jiminy Jam. Those three things together, the way that it works in your body is actually like giving your body protein. Those three foods together actually create the same thing as protein. So when people are, and they call it Three Sisters, and you'll probably hear more about this because I'll probably be figuring more out about this. And actually it made me think of how we all love that, like the taco soup, right? That I love to eat that. It's too heavy in the summer and when it's so hot. But the beans and the corn, and of course it has tomatoes and then maybe some kind of meat as well. But these people live plant-based. They move every day. On average, they're walking 4 to 5 miles a day. They're up and down, bending over, getting off the floor, playing tennis. Pickleball, whatever it is. They are moving, active, eating whole foods. They prioritize community, self-care, and rest. And there you go in less than 17 minutes. And if you want to watch it, it's about 4 hours of great TV. Take some notes and share them with me. I'll see you on the next Lisa lesson.